exports are a great way to gather critical information about your employees and are most commonly used to gather information about new hires for your payroll system. So we're going to take a look at how to configure employee exports. Starting in our management console, we are going to select our Jump To menu and then select Admin. From here, we're going to select the Employee Exports admin card and select Configure. The first screen that you see display is going to be your previous exports. So here you can see a list of your previously run exports. You can see the name, the date that it started to run and when it was completed, its status, and by selecting the corresponding download button, you'll be able to download the information in that export. Next to previous exports, we have export definitions. And here is where you can format your templates. So here we see our previously made templates. We have that export's name, the description, who the export was created by, who it was last modified by, its last date of modification and the time, whether it's active or inactive. By selecting the arrow button, you can run an ad hoc report. And by selecting the silhouette button, you'll run a report for a single employee. If you would like to start creating a new template, you have two options. You can either create a brand new one from scratch, or you can select one of our pre-made templates. In this list, you can see some of our common payroll providers, as well as just a generic TalentReef template. So we're going to start with Create New, just so we can see what that looks like. First, we'll enter the export's name. And then add a description for this export. Select the report occurrence. This is what days of the week and what time we would like the report to automatically run. So for this, I'm going to select Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I want it to run at 7 in the morning and 7 at night Eastern time. So this is going to be a 24-hour clock separated by commas. So if I wanted to run it at 7 in the morning, I'd put 7, comma, and then 7 at night, which would be 19. Then we have our file settings, so the file name, whatever you want to name it. Whether you'd like to use the date time in the file name and the format of that date time. The file output type, and your file type over here as well. Then you have the option to select any file transfer protocol settings. So if you're not using any FTP, any file transfer protocol, then you can just simply select this checked box. Otherwise, you'll want to unselect that box and start setting up your FTP protocol. TalentReef supports port 22, and from here we have more options on setting that up, and you can also test your FTP settings here as well. So great tool if that is something you want to do. You can check out our user guide on employee exports for detailed instructions and screenshots on how to exactly set up FTP settings for you. Then we'll select our event settings. This is what is going to trigger a new hire or an employee to just show up on the report. So the most common selected event is going to be the employee hired event, this only happens one time when the employee is marked as completed. And the reason this is most common is because when an employee is hired, it does only happen once, and so you're not uploading multiple records of the same employee to any payroll system if that's what you're using employee exports for. So you can use other selected events here. Maybe you want to see when their pay selection is updated. You could select that. That could happen multiple times. They could update it even though they've been working there for a year. So again, they may show up multiple times. So it just depends on what you're using this employee exports tool for. Then we'll select which locations and positions we would like to show up on this report. So right now we have all current and future locations and positions selected. I'm going to uncheck those boxes. So location A for me is my Harrison test location. I want employees from that location to show up. So I will select it and move it to the selected side on the right. This report is specifically for bartenders for me. So I'm going to select bartender and move it to the selected side on the right. Then we'll select email addresses, and this is going to be the email address that receives a notification when your report has been complete. So whatever email is associated with my Harrison Master Test login account, that's the account I'm currently signed into. If that account is selected, then they will receive the email at the email associated to this account. So they'll receive that email. They will need to still log into Talent Reef to view the export, but you'll be notified. By selecting next, now we're going to start configuring our export, and you can see here that we need to choose fields for our employee export by clicking the fields in the add fields or add custom fields section. So you can add any custom fields, whether it's blank, hard-coded, derived, whether it's a live-in state tax field or a worked-in state tax field. So maybe we want a derived field and we want it to be position and location. We can select save. And we can add any custom field display name. And we will need to download the template, fill out any required fields, and then save the export definition and upload the rule sheet. Well, that's how that one works. Then we can add any of our pre-made fields here. So maybe we want a whole bunch of these. So we can enter as many fields as we want. If we want to rearrange our fields, we just have to click, hold, and drag. So maybe I want my name information for personal information. I want last name at the very top. So let's move last name, click, hold, and drag. Now it's listed as number 1, and I could move these other fields as well. So middle name and first name. So now those are rearranged. And you can also customize any of those fields' names. Some of these have information that includes numbers, so things like social security, pay type, pay rate, birthday, those are all going to have numbers, and you can format how those numbers come out. So for example, birthday, maybe you don't want dashes, maybe you want slashes, maybe you don't want anything, maybe you want a year, month, day, or day, month, year. However you want this formatted, you can find an option. You can copy a row by selecting the 2 pieces of paper symbol, those 2 pieces of paper that look identical. That is going to be your copy option. And next to that, we have the little trash can button, which means you want to delete this row. At the top, you can also decide whether you would like to include the header row on output. So if you want these row names on the output, and whether you would like to activate or deactivate the export. Once you have formatted all of your fields, you'll want to scroll down, and you have two options. You can either save the report or save and run an ad hoc report, which means that you will save a report and run a report right here and now, even though it's not a scheduled time. Now we can see our template listed here in our export definitions. If I ever need to edit that export, I can just click on the title from this screen. It'll look identical to setting it up. And again, all you have to do is press save at the end to update any changes that you've made. Once your report has run, it will be listed in that previous export section that we saw at the very beginning. So it will be listed here. And again, just by pressing the download button, you can actually download that information onto your computer. Of course, if you have any additional questions, you can always contact us here at Talent Reef. That's either by email, phone, or live chat. Our live chat option can be found on talentreefsupport.com. Log in today to start gathering critical information about your employees by using the Employee Exports tool.